I'm sitting on the edge of my well-made bed because it used to be so difficult for me to get up. And I thought I was just being a lazy ass, procrastinating. But what I've come to realize is, no. What was happening was the accumulated weight of repressed emotion and not feeling, and the ensuing feeling of stuckness. There was so much repression, and I didn't know how to feel, and I didn't know how to release. So that wasn't being a lazy ass, and that's what this video today is really all about, is exploring the hidden weight of emotion and how it blocks our energy. We're going to have a look at what happens when we start feeling and stop fighting it, and the energy and the lightness and the possibility that comes on the back of that. I wanted to thank my granddaughter for my beautiful jewelry. She wove these loom bands for her granny, and I love them, and they are beautiful. Thank you, my darling. So, welcome. I'm going to take you on a journey. I got something to tell you. In the past, I've offered maps, but today we're going to explore the territory. After exploring in previous videos the wonderful work of Hawkins in letting go, and of course Don Miguel Ruiz's 4 agreements, I have found myself face to face with some very old, unfelt emotions, feelings of worthlessness, feeling like I'm a fraud, guilt, anger, fear, shame. And then on this journey, along came another teacher, the incredible Joe Hudson, and I encourage you to look at some of his work. It's quite remarkable. And the component today we're looking at is emotional fluidity. Joe's teachings are helping me and will help you today to welcome the feelings. The other day, I was working on this video. I was overcome by feelings of overwhelm and feeling like a fraud and feeling worthless. And it was like this agony that was in my body, and I didn't quite know where to put myself, and I just felt so stuck. And then what I did was I dropped into my body. I just dropped into my body, dropped my chin down slightly. I just stopped, and I noticed the feeling, and I approached it with a feeling of wonder, a feeling of curiosity, and I just observed. And then I asked myself, what is the color of this? What is the shape of it? What is the consistency? Is it fluid? Where in my body is it? And I found what I noticed was like a writhing black shadow, sort of wailing and almost tearing at its face, and there was just this writhing, agonized energy, and I didn't run from it. I stayed with it, stayed curious, and then it came to me, worthless. That's a feeling of worthlessness. I feel worthless, and I stayed with it, and I stayed. And it got smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And it left. And then afterwards, Joe Hudson does encourage us to be kind to our nervous systems, to guard our nervous systems. But I felt like doing this instinctively anyway. I rubbed my arms, rubbed my shoulders, gave myself a hug. Gone. Done. And I felt so much better as a result of that. Feeling the result of letting it in And it is frightening because you do feel like it's going to overwhelm you, but it passes. And that's the good news. Emotional fluidity. What is this? This journey is not about not feeling emotions and managing and controlling our emotions. It is about allowing our emotions to just pass through us. Joe Hudson talks about, the metaphor he uses, say anger, for example. Anger comes into this pipeline of emotions, this pipeline of feeling, and we crimp it, we suppress it. But the emotion will hemorrhage out, and it does hemorrhage out, and it hemorrhages out as, say, if we're dealing with anger, for example, it hemorrhages out as defensiveness, rage, depression, versus uncrimp the pipe, let it flow through you, and on the other side of that is clarity and boundaries and a clear seeing of a situation. Emotions show up one way when we resist them, and they show up another way when we let them flow through us. Joe Hudson uses an example. I'm just going to call him Joe now. Joe. Joe uses an example of going to a party, and you go to a party, and at this party, nobody wants you there. You're not welcome. Versus going to another party where everybody is welcoming you and, hello, Michelle. Oh, it's lovely to see you. How are you? Big hugs. You're going to show up differently. You're going to show up differently at each of those parties. And he's got such a lovely saying. He says, joy is the matriarch of emotions, but she won't enter the house unless her children are welcome. So if you're trying to repress anger or feelings of worthlessness or shame or guilt, then there's no room for joy. You've got to make room for her to show up. As I stop resisting the feeling of emotion and feel them, sometimes I can be walking along in quite a public place and I will start to feel an emotion and feel it and go through the process as I'm walking, and I can't stop in the street and well, I suppose I could, but I'm not there yet. I don't stop and squeeze and hug, and I just give myself a little hug, because what I'm sort of like a squeeze, this is my public hug. And my lovely friend at work, Michelle, another Michelle, I've been sharing some of this letting go with her, and the other day we were dealing with a difficult situation, and she came into my office and she told me the situation, and the two of us were in it and we were dealing with it, and I said, just hold on. And she said, what are you feeling right now? What are you feeling into? So she's learning when I go like this, I'm feeling it, man. And then I told her, and interestingly, she was feeling a similar thing. I work with beautiful people. I'm just so blessed. So I'm increasingly learning to feel my emotions, and you know what is so beautiful? On the back of feeling these emotions is something else, something more crystalline, something more beautiful. So on the back end of worthlessness, there's a feeling of being valuable, a feeling of being worthy. On the back end of deep sadness is a tremendous feeling of empowerment. On the back end of anger is relief and clarity and boundaries. More to be said on that. On the back end of feelings of helplessness is empowerment. And it's maybe just good to know that you can feel a little bit worse, and it can feel like this isn't working because it's just coming thick and fast and you can feel pretty crummy. But the good news is you keep feeling, if you've, in terms of worthlessness, I think I've still got more work to do there. But in terms of the feeling, you feel it, it gets a bit less, until it's gone, until it can just flow through you clearly. Whatever comes up just flows through you, and you welcome it, because you know on the other side of that you're going to feel better. And so you just have this pipeline of emotions, and you cannot not feel emotions. We feel them all the time, but we don't notice them, repress them, and that's when the trouble starts. This has been such a big shift for me, so much transformation in such a short period of time. And I have been very good to myself. I have been taking very good care of my nervous system. I make sure that I get enough exercise. I've been focusing on my nutrition. That big basket of chocolates has made its way out of the house. I just didn't need the friction. I sleep, make sure I get enough sleep. I hydrate. In the evenings, I give my face a lovely massage with castor oil, massage my temples, massage my forehead. It's probably very good for the wrinkles too, but we do need to be taking good care of our nervous systems. I think there is a movement, there's a feeling in the zeitgeist. There's this idea of minimalism, the idea of letting go of stuff. I'm finding that as I am letting go of layers and layers of stuck emotion, equally I am letting go of stuff in my life. And I've always been a tidy soul and sort of kept things reasonably ordered, but it's summer holidays at the moment, so I've got a fair bit of time on my hands, and every day I tackle a couple of drawers or a section of a wardrobe, and I look at things and I am just letting go and letting go. So the whole process, I'm just feeling so much lighter and creating so much space. I find as I'm letting go, I procrastinate less. I have a weekly planner, and every day I draw little squares and the things that I want to achieve during the day. And in the past, I'd make the squares, write the things down, and just feel, I don't think I know. I'm not. Oh God, am I even going to be able to get out of bed? Am I going to be able to do this? And there was such fear and anxiety and doubt around that. And now I know when I draw my little squares, I know that I am going to have the energy and the fluidity and the wherewithal to go from one thing to the next, and my days have been like a symphony. It's beautiful. And there have been days where I've really felt hard into something, where I've said to myself, just go and take a nap, girl. Just go and have a lie down. Just make yourself a cup of tea and snuggle up with a novel, something else. Just stop. But by and large, I can feel the shift. And I can feel the shift into being able to do the things that I want to do. And it is rather lovely. As I mentioned earlier, when I was talking about anger and at the back end of anger, you're going to establish boundaries. I think I've destroyed so many relationships in my past because I was unboundaried and showing up in a way that wasn't true to myself, because of the need to be liked and accepted, and trying to figure out what that was. So I would show up as something that I potentially wasn't, or just allow one aspect of myself to show up and not the complete me. And with relationships, this is you, this is the other person, and we are cruel to ourselves and we abuse ourselves, and we tolerate, if our level of cruelty and self-abuse is a lot, we will tolerate abuse and cruelty from others until it drops just below that point, and then we're out. Whereas what I'm exploring. And what I'm finding is if you are boundaried and more in touch with your own needs and wants, and you can say I want and I need, and assert yourself into the relationship lovingly, of course, you have a less tolerance for other people's nonsense, and you put in boundaries so that when they are exceeding those boundaries, you can put a stop to it. Do you kind of know what I mean? I hope so, because it's quite an important point. I think what I'm saying is I've changed my set point for nonsense. And maybe I will have fewer people in my life, but the relationships I have will be real, and people will respect my boundaries and understand them. And I think most profoundly what I'm learning is that life is meant to feel beautiful. Life is meant to be joyous. I have had a lot of old programming and beliefs, a belief system that said life is hard, life is suffering. I made a note of another one here. Suffering is noble. Strength means enduring, and all of this courage and endurance and fight. And actually, you can achieve the same ends, but you can do it a lot more fluidly and without expending and wasting so much energy, because you're continually having to overcome this resistance. It's exhausting. It has been exhausting. Thank you, Joe Hudson. Thank you, Don Miguel Ruiz. Thank you, Hawkins. Thank you to all the teachers of the past. You've all pointed me in the direction, and now I finally squarely pointed myself in the direction of true healing. I invite you to join me. It's magnificent. You know, several months ago I began an experiment, and it was with the purpose of stop caring what people think of me. I was determined to stop caring what people think of me, because it was such a source of pain and exhaustion and stress. So what I did was I bought 7 of the same top and 7 identical pairs of trousers, and I just dress them differently. So I will wear different jewelry. Today I've got my beautiful granddaughter's loom bands. When I went to my daughter's graduation, I had this outfit on, and I just dressed it up with some red pumps and a red shawl and some lovely earrings and a pearl necklace, and I was good to go. You will find me gardening in these clothes. You will find me walking in the hills in these clothes. This is it. I just dress them up and down. And it's actually it's actually rather nice, because I don't even have to think. If I'm packing for a trip, it's easy. If I'm getting up, whatever, you know, it's just easy. And they're comfortable. The clothes are like elegant pajamas. But what's really interesting, several months later, I am slowly, in fact quite quickly now, it's sort of gaining momentum, stopping caring what people think of me, because I figured out that it is only important what I think of myself. And the more I am liking myself, dare I say, loving myself, nurturing myself, feeling my feelings, the less automatically it's mattering what other people think of me. That's not my job. It's not my job. And it never was. There is something about just letting yourself be. No fixing, no forcing. That opens up space. And in that space, I'm finding clarity, energy, joy, freedom, no more procrastination. I found myself doing things in the past, but it was always such a fight and a struggle. So much energy was expended. Imagine what's possible now. So if you're feeling stuck, my darlings, you are not broken. You're just carrying, you're holding, you're resisting too much. And maybe, just maybe, you will try this experiment and start to let go, one feeling at a time. I think it's Marcel Proust. He says, "The real voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes." And sometimes the most ordinary moment becomes extraordinary when we can finally learn to see it differently. Sending you lots of love. You're enough. You are worthy. You fit in. You belong. And you are going to be okay. I promise. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.